Streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Here on a Thursday night from Columbia, Phil Kornblut, Pat Daniel, and Chris Bergen will be joining us here momentarily. It's a big Thursday night here on Sports Talk. We will have coming up for you a little bit later on another session of Will and the Thrill. Will Merritt and Carl Hill will join us as we catch up with them and get their thoughts on their respective teams, the Clemson Tigers and, of course, the South Carolina Gamecocks. Mike Morgan on the move, will also join us a little bit after 7 o'clock. We got a full recruiting report for you as well as we head into the weekend, especially at South Carolina with the unofficial visits and one official visit for the Gamecocks coming up this weekend. South Carolina getting ready to take on the Missouri Tigers in Columbia. Kind of a trap game as I see it for the Gamecocks. A trap game because you got South Carolina sitting in a position now as a ranked team for the first time since 2018, looking for their first win as a ranked team in 8 years. And they've spent the week, of course, no doubt, working on things and working hard. They've also spent the week hearing about how good they are, pats on the back, kisses on the butt. And I think this is a very dangerous situation for South Carolina because you can lose focus very, very easily. And I'm sure that's something that Shane Beamer and the coaching staff have focused on this week to make sure that their guys, keep their eye on the ball and don't take the old foot off the gas. I'll use as many cliches as possible here. So I think it's a dangerous game for South Carolina. Gamecocks are favored by 4 going in. They've lost 3 in a row to Missouri, but this is a Missouri team that the record is very misleading, and that's another thing. You know, you can very easily look at this game and see a Missouri team with a losing record overall, barely beating Vanderbilt last weekend, a losing SEC record. But those 3 SEC losses that they've had were to teams with big reputations, and they were all games that Missouri could have won. So this could be a Missouri team that's totally flipped around in terms of the record. And I think South Carolina offensively has really got to pick it up. I think you've got to see the running game really take off this weekend if they can against a good defense. This is a good defense. They faced a good defense in Texas A&M last weekend. They didn't put up huge numbers, and they were helped, of course, by the special teams and the defense coming up with turnovers and putting them in good position to build that early 17-0 lead. They'll need more of the same Saturday. They'll need more help from the special teams. They'll need more help from the defense. And the offense, we'll see if the offense can carry more of the weight and do more of the work. Maybe get Marshawn Lloyd. Again, we've talked about getting him more touches. 18 is what he had last Saturday. Maybe increase that. Maybe get it up to 25. Maybe push 27 or so. If that's the case, then that'll be an indication that the running game is working. The offensive line is doing its job, and they feel confident in giving him the football and going with the ground game. Like Chuck Reedy likes to say, if the Gamecocks are throwing the ball 30, 35 times, despite having Spencer Rattler as a quarterback, if they're doing that, that's not a good sign for their offense. So we'll talk more about that as we move on through the program. We'll take your phone calls, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. And, of course, Clemson is off this weekend getting ready for their game up at Notre Dame a week from Saturday. Pat's going to go up for that one and cover the Tigers. And I know you're excited about going up there and watching Clemson play at Notre Dame Stadium. I mean, that's one of those bucket list sort of trips that every football fan wants to make, and very few of us actually get a chance to do it.
Oh yeah, I could not be happier right now. It is exactly a dream place to go, as you were saying. It's one of those bucket list stadiums. Myself and friends have made it a point for the last 15 years or so to go to a different away stadium around the country every year, but we've never made it to Notre Dame. It was penciled in for 2020. I know a lot of Clemson folks that were planning to go up there back in 2020. Of course, that did not end up happening because of COVID. They essentially only allowed local fans, or might have even been students, into that game. No away fans were really allowed. But yeah, I fully plan to immerse myself best I can into South Bend, do all the Rudy stuff, if possible, go behind the scenes and actually get to slap the play like a champion today sign and all that. So yeah, could not be happier. And then excited just to hopefully see a great ball game. Maybe see if it can live up anywhere close to the hype of 2 years ago up there when we just had an absolute shootout that, of course, went into overtime when DJ, of course, stepped in admirably for Trevor Lawrence, who was out with COVID, although still was a bit confusing how he was on the sidelines, but he wasn't allowed to play. But if it can live up to that at all, should be a great time up there next weekend.
Wait a minute now. How are you going to sneak in there and get your hands on the play like a champion sign? I mean, that's in the locker room. That's in the tunnel.
I may or may not have already planned a behind-the-scenes tour with a couple folks via Clemson and Notre Dame. So feel privileged to have that honor and looking forward to that.
Well, I wish you will. You will. Hang on a second here as I make a little transition. Okay.
Cave up in Hendersonville. Where are you this evening?
That's a little secret, Chris, and I'll share with you at another time.
Good grief. Sounds like you're broadcasting from the bottom of the Bat Cave here tonight. Should we wait on Alfred to get your costume set up and raring to go since it's almost Halloween?
Well, he does not have a headset on yet, so he's actually unable to hear anything you're saying. And for those of you watching online right now, you may have a slightly better idea of what's happening here. Had a little bit of a traffic snafu, but Phil, the champion broadcaster that he was in, he did that opening there via his telephone safely.
There are some things that just don't need to be shared at all times. Just don't need to be shared. But we're here.
It sounded like you were broadcasting from the bottom of some cavern in deep in the North Carolina mountains.
Hey, man,
I was getting concerned about it.
It was just about getting it done. That's all I believe in. Whatever you have to do to get it done, and that's what we did. Thank you, Pat, for getting us through that. Yeah,
of course. But as the producer of this show, though, I just wanted to make it clear for those of you wondering what is happening with the audio in the first 5 minutes. It ain't me.
Yeah.
Not me this time.
All about getting it on the air and getting it out there. All right. Hey, Chris, it's good to hear from you. You're getting ready to hit the road to go to Marshall.
Yeah, first ever trip up to Marshall. I don't know that I have the same bucket list item to check off the list that Pat is going to be able to do next weekend when the Tigers go up to Notre Dame. But nonetheless, I'm looking forward to going up to Marshall. Never been to Huntington, West Virginia. Hope to get a chance to run by the memorial for the 1970 Marshall team that was killed in that horrible plane crash that certainly sparked the We Are Marshall movie. So get an opportunity to do some of that and actually see if Coastal can bounce back after just a miserable effort 2 weeks ago against Old Dominion.
Yeah, a little concerned about the shots. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. I think I'm taking Marshall, laying the 2 points here. I just going up there. That's it's not an easy place to play.
No.
Marshall's proven itself a little bit this year with that win at Notre Dame, and they've had good clubs in recent years. I don't know that they're that good this year, but I was a little disappointed in Coastal's performance. I mean, I'd love to see them go up there and get a W, kind of get their confidence back, and then get ready for that big Thursday night game next week against Appalachian State at home.
Well, Jamie Chadwell brought up the next couple of weeks, basically saying that his team needs to refocus itself in terms of its mentality. And he felt like, especially some of the younger players that they have, some of the younger players that they have may have just thought, okay, we're at Coastal, we're expected to win these type ball games, so all we have to do is show up and go win. That doesn't happen. Clemson still has to go out and play well to win ball games, despite turning it over 4 times this past week against Syracuse. They still had to make plays in the fourth quarter to pull that game out. Same thing here with Coastal. They're still not they're not that dominant that they can just show up, roll the helmets out there, and go win a ball game. And Jamie was pretty blunt. I don't think he was pleased with the way his team approached the Old Dominion game. I've actually heard from some of the players that they felt like the guys were overlooking Old Dominion 2 this week and the next week with Marshall and Appalachian State, more well-known teams, if you will, at the group of 5 level. I think they'll play much, much better on Saturday. Whether or not that translates into a win for them remains to be seen.
Yeah, which is sort of like what I'm saying here for South Carolina at the outset.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is a trap game for the Gamecocks. So for all the reasons I just said, what do you think?
I think you're 100% correct. We actually talked about that in our high school affiliates. We get a chance to hear that tomorrow night when they break out at halftime for our college football preview. And I think you're spot on, Phil, because this is a trap game for sure for South Carolina. Because first off, they have not arrived. So you've got to remind them that they're still not as good as they may think they are. And, you've got to take what they've done the last couple of weeks as positive signs that the program is moving forward, but they haven't gotten to a point where they can look at a team like Missouri, just show up and go play and win. They've got to play as good a game as they played against Texas A&M. They've got to play as good a game with the effort in particular against Kentucky. They've got to do that again this week. Yeah, Missouri, as you pointed out, 3-4. But, Phil, they may be the best 3-4 team that South Carolina is going to see all season long because they could have easily beaten Auburn. They gave Georgia all they could handle and probably could have won that game. I'm not going to say should have. They gave Florida all they could handle, and they certainly could have won that ball game. And this is a team with a very good defense. They struggle on offense. You're exactly right. They're not very good offensively. And what are they going to do at quarterback, I think still remains to be seen. But South Carolina just can't roll into this game, and especially considering that Missouri's won, 3 straight against them?
Yeah.
They got to find a way to move the football and beat. This is one they've got to have. As much as it was to get over the hump with Kentucky and Texas A&M, you've got to continue the momentum the next 2 weeks with teams you are now expected to beat versus teams that you hope you were going to beat.
Yeah, I agree. This is an opportunity. South Carolina looks at this right now, and you see Missouri, a winnable game, you're favored. Then you see, of course, the trip to Vanderbilt. You do your thing, you play better, and you win these 2 games. I mean, you've set yourself up for quite a season, and a season that will elevate this program, you think. Now, I do have to throw out this caveat, and that is Will Muschamp won 9 games in his second year, and things, went away. Shane Beamer, I think, has a much greater grasp on things than apparently Will Muschamp was ever able to get. I think in terms of the building from the inside out, it certainly looks like he's getting it done better that way. Now, a lot depends on what happens with the coaching staff moving forward, who stays, who leaves, who he retains, who he lets go, if anybody. He doesn't sound like the type of coach who wants to let people go. I think he's loyal to his assistant coaches who are loyal to him. But what other opportunities might they take? Muschamp had to go through that. And he changed offensive coordinators at one point. And, of course, the injury bug. One thing that set the Gamecocks back terribly under Muschamp was year 4 when Jake Bentley got hurt and was lost for the season. And, of course, year 3, after coming off the 9-win season, that was the year, I think I'm right about this. I always get a little twisted here, but I think that was a year things were going pretty well. They go down to Florida. They got the big lead over Florida. They lose it, and things kind of turned from that point on. Everything kind of went downhill. They lost that game. They went to a bowl game, got shut out by Virginia with Deebo Samuel standing on the sideline, opened up the next season in Charlotte, lost a lead to North Carolina, lost Jake Bentley, went through the quarterback turntable, and Helinski ended up playing most of the time, but he was hurt quite a bit. But then you thought you had your quarterback of the future, in Ryan Helinski, because he played hurt a lot that year. He threw for over 2,000 yards, as I remember, but the next year was just a disaster. So anyway, my point is, things look good. They got to take care of business. They could get 7 wins. They could get 8 wins. They could, they get to 8. They could win 9 in a bowl game. And but even that doesn't mean you've established yourself, because there's always the next year where you've got to maintain.
Well, and you use the Muschamp comparison as a fair one, I think, because they coached at the same place. But if you start pulling back the onion a little bit and peeling it back a touch, Dabo Swinney had a similar start. He was 9-5 his second year at Clemson, then went 6-7. And there were a lot of folks after the Gamecocks beat him that were ready to run him out of town. He has not won less than 10 games since. I'm not saying that's the same trajectory that Shane Beamer is on, but I think if you're a Carolina fan, what you want to see is the same progress that Dabo Swinney made in his program once he took over versus what Will Muschamp did with USC's program.
All right. Phone number 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. If you want to join us here on the program, we got time to take some phone calls before we get very, very busy here on the program. The injury report from Missouri is that their wide receiver, Demarion Houston, is questionable and out for the game. The long snapper, Daniel Hawthorne, defensive tackle Josh Landry, wide receiver Chance Looper, offensive tackle Hiron White. They're all out for Missouri, according to the report out of Missouri this afternoon. And South Carolina's in good shape health-wise. Corey Rucker remains out. He won't play. And he's really about the only one who's not been declared out for the season. He's about the only one right now, along with Terrell Dawkins. But Dawkins has been showing some improvement, and he may be in uniform and able to play on Saturday. Otherwise, the Gamecocks are in real good shape from a health standpoint. All right, let's hit our break, and we'll come back with more. Phone number 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Since 2002, more than $572 million in lottery proceeds used to fund Palmetto Fellow scholarships for the state's college-bound students. You can learn more about the lottery's impact at scheducationlottery.com/education. Wins. Playing for fun is a win for education. Back after the break.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Thank you. Thank you for world-traveling rocket scientists, for tires bigger than your grandma's house, for 3D printing research, for artists in residency. Thank you for all the things that take us to the next level. Thank you for playing the lottery, for funding scholarships, for funding grants, for funding innovation in this state. Thank you. The South Carolina Education Lottery. When you play, we all win.
We're with Major Billy Downer of DNR. Of course, hunting is very popular across the state of South Carolina. Major Downer, what things should our hunters be thinking about before they get out in the fields?
It seems like every other show we're talking about hunting safety of some sort. Whether it's turkey season or deer season, hunters always need to be aware of their target. Make sure before you pull that trigger that you know what you're looking at. Whether it's a turkey during turkey season or a deer during deer season, you know your identifying features of your game. You know what's beyond that target in case you miss.
Learn more about the great outdoors in South Carolina with Major Billy Downer on SC Wild here on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Yeah, you know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah, you know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah, you know what it is. Everything I do, yeah, I do it big.
All right, we're back on Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Ever need just to get away somewhere, sometime? Why not head down to the great part of South Carolina, Pawleys Island and Litchfield, and just get away? Sometimes I feel like just driving east until I hit the Pawleys Island, Litchfield town limits and going in and slapping my arm around the shoulders of our friend Jimmy Smith and saying, Jimmy, put me up somewhere away from everybody. You can do the same thing. He'll be more than happy to work with you and find you that perfect spot at PawleysVacationRentals.com. Just give them a call, 843-237-4246. That's 843-237-4246, PawleysVacationRentals.com. And, of course, it's not too early to start thinking about next vacation season and getting your spot before everybody else gets their spot, and you got no spot to get. So act today. Give Jimmy a call. Tell him your friends at Sports Talk sent you to him. He'll be happy to work with you and take care of you. 843-237-4246 is that number for the perfect beach getaway.
And for someone who travels down to the beach a good bit during the off season and also during the season, Phil's not lying here, folks. If you want to be at the beach, go ahead and book now.
Yeah.
Book early, because Myrtle Beach, Pawleys Island, Garden City, Litchfield, the whole 9 yards, they book up so far in advance, especially, once we start getting into spring, we get all the snowbirds that come down from Canada that want to play golf in nice weather.
Mhm.
Well, once that starts filling up, Phil, after that, it's a monsoon of people coming down for summer tourist season to be able to get on the beach. So yeah, go ahead. There's no reason not to book. You want a vacation to the beach. Go ahead and do it now. What's wrong with booking for your summer at Halloween? Go ahead and get it done.
Then this is the best time of the year. The weather is just fantastic. The golf courses are just beautiful, and it is, the best time to get away. On his call-in show tonight, Shane Beamer says everybody who was available for A&M should be available for Missouri. Terrell Dawkins will dress a game-time decision on if he plays. And so you're up to date there on the injuries between South Carolina and Missouri getting ready for their game. I think it's going to be a real good game. 4-point spread, could be a fourth quarter game. These teams typically play close ball games. Historically, they play close ball games. They're 5-5 against one another since they both joined the SEC. Missouri did beat South Carolina twice in bowl games, so they have a 7-5 advantage. And, I think that South Carolina matches up pretty well. Missouri has a really good defense. They got two players with ties to the state who start for their defense. Trajan Jeffcoat out of Irmo, a guy that I think he would have walked naked backwards to play for South Carolina when he was coming out of Irmo. All he's done is gone and played in like 60-something games at Missouri and started like 40-something of them and made himself into an all-SEC defensive end. Bad evaluation by the coaching staff at South Carolina back then. But, you say bad evaluation. How do you know, right? Well, I guess you evaluate and you make a decision and you live and die with it. But they had a guy right there 20 miles from the campus who'd be probably starting for them right now at defensive end. He's really emerged as a terrific defensive end. And then you have starting at safety, Joseph Charleston, the former Clemson safety, who transferred to Missouri. So you got two guys with ties to the state of South Carolina starting for the Missouri defense. They are particularly good against the pass. They're 16th nationally in pass efficiency defense, and they're only giving up about 22 points per game, which in today's world is not all that bad. That's not all that bad. And their defense overall is ranked in the top 20 of the nation. So the Gamecock offense is going to be stressed here, Chris. They're going to no doubt be tested. Can they raise their level of production? This is a team that has just been stuck for years in the 20 to 24 points per game window against good teams, against SEC competition for the most part. Can they somehow break that glass ceiling and get themselves into the 30s?
And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? Because you look at quarterback, you expect Spencer Rattler to play very, very well. You look at running back, they've got a guy who is a highly touted recruit coming out of the Northeast, and Marshawn Lloyd at the wide receiving position, even without Corey Rucker. You think they've got some pretty good talent, and Josh Vann has just been an invisible man for them. And then at tight end, I'm not sure they're better tight ends across the country than what Carolina has with Jaheim Bell, if you list him as a tight end, and certainly with Steigner. It just makes no sense as to why the offense can't get out of its own way. And if it's not for special teams, and the guys talked about this a good bit last night, if it's not for special teams, they don't beat Georgia State, perhaps. They probably don't beat Texas A&M because special teams set the tone and saved the game with the play Tonka Hemingway made on the blocked extra point. This is a team that has relied, most teams rely on their defense to go win games for them. South Carolina has relied on its defense and special teams to go win games for them, and not its offense. And I scratch my head just like most Gamecock fans. How do you explain why they can't score more than 20, 25 points a game?
Well, when you got a quarterback like they have, when you got a running back like they have, when you mentioned the tight ends like they have, when you have a Swiss Army knife like they have in Bell, it makes you wonder. We'll pick up on this after the break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Well, it's been nice today. Look for some clouds to roll in for tonight. We'll stay dry, a low of 51. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, a high of 69. Now, for the weekend, look for a cloudy Saturday, a high of 68. About a 40% chance of showers for Sunday, with high temperatures topping out at 70. For Halloween on Monday, rain chances up to 50%. I'm Kevin Dorn with your On Point local weather.
Attention listeners, con artists have many tricks for stealing your money, but the AARP Fraud Watch Network is here to help you protect yourself and your family. We give you the tools you need to spot and avoid scams. So listen for the AARP Fraud Watch Network alerts. Use our scam tracking map to see the latest scams and sign up for prevention tips and alerts from law enforcement. To learn how to outsmart con artists before they strike, visit aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting divers have found more human remains at drought-stricken Lake Mead in Las Vegas. The Lake Mead National Recreation Area statement said Thursday that a National Park Service dive team confirmed on October 18th that a bone found a day earlier at Colville Bay was part of a human skeleton. That's on the Nevada side of the Colorado River Reservoir behind Hoover Dam. No foul play was suspected, and the Clark County Coroner's Office in Las Vegas was working to confirm the identity of the deceased. A former CIA officer who spied on Qatar's rivals to help the tiny Arab country land this year's World Cup is now under FBI scrutiny. And newly obtained documents show he offered spy services that went beyond soccer to try to influence U.S. policy. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 194 points. This is SRN News.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Hi, I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and I've got a great gift idea that requires zero shopping, the gift of college savings. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan makes it easy. Grandparents, friends, and family can all contribute to a Future Scholar account and know that they're providing a gift that will last a lifetime. If you're looking for the perfect gift this holiday season, look no further. Learn more about the smart, easy way to save and give this holiday season at futurescholar.com.
Open enrollment. It can be a confusing, frustrating time, but it doesn't have to be. You're seeing celebs doing TV ads, billboards everywhere. You're inundated. At Medicare Blueprint, they help with Mom's Medicare plan. I called them, gave them the basics on Mom and her meds. They did everything else. Tim and his team do this full-time, year-round. If you call them, they talk to you. They take you through the whole process. Nothing outsourced. They do the work. A local number, a local guy. Medicare Blueprint doesn't work for the insurance companies. They work for you. Tim knows this industry. He's been advocating for people like us for a long time. Go to his website, MedicareBlueprint.com. Look at the testimonials from people all over the Midlands. If Tim can help you, he will. If he can't help you today and thinks you're already in a better plan than he can find for you, he'll tell you because it's the right thing to do. Next time around, you'll remember his honesty. You'll call him when you need his help again. MedicareBlueprint.com or give him a call. 803-708-7398. That's 708-7398 for Medicare Blueprint.
You've seen the news. You've talked to your friends. You may have even looked around yourself. Home prices are nuts. Seems like no one is offering any kind of discount except Lexington Discount Homes. Discount is their middle name. Quality homes that fit your budget with the size, model, and floor plan that your family needs. You can still afford your dream home at Lexington Discount Homes. Augusta Highway near Ballpark Road, 803-951-1900 or LexingtonDiscountHomes.com.
Fall is here. The leaves are changing. It's almost time for Halloween. That's right. It's time to adopt a pet from Columbia Animal Services. The best treats this October will be teaching your new dog or cat some tricks. Visit petfinder.com to find your new family member. Adoptions are $35, but you can get your new kitty or pooch from October 24th through Halloween for just a $15 fee. Visit petfinder.com and bring home a new fur baby from Columbia Animal Services.
All right, big Thursday night here on Sports Talk. Phil Kornblut, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. We are happy to have you with us tonight as we come to you from the Dave and Buster's studios here in downtown Columbia. Tell you about Dave and Buster's, of course. They are great, great folks, and so happy to have them with us here on Sports Talk. You can head over there to eat, drink, and, of course, they have a terrific arcade area in there. Fantastic games. Take the kids, let them run crazy while you and the missus enjoy a fantastic meal and catch all the ball games. There's one tonight. You got to really want to watch ACC football to watch Virginia at Georgia Tech, which is going to be on tonight. So it is football, and enjoy that. But all the games, football, basketball, World Series, everything else, NASCAR, Formula One, FIBA, the World Cup. They'll have the World Cup, I'm sure. Greenville, Columbia, Myrtle Beach, the locations for Dave and Buster's here in South Carolina. So get over there and enjoy what they have to offer. And
also have Sunbelt football on again tonight.
Who do we have in the Sunbelt?
Louisiana Southern Miss tonight.
That's very good. Very good.
So that might
Who's
actually
going to win
be better
that game,
than,
Mr. Sunbelt?
Ooh, I'd say Louisiana, but that's a total guess. That might actually be better than Virginia Tech, NC State, though.
I saw what's the NFL game tonight on
that's,
Amazon?
Baltimore and Tampa Bay.
Yeah, they've been hemorrhaging viewers on that broadcast. I mean, they still outdrew their game last week, was down quite a bit in terms of millions of viewers. They did outdraw the baseball playoff game that particular night, but from a football standpoint, an NFL standpoint, their ratings are in the tank for Thursday night. And I mean, look, I don't know about you, don't know about Pat, don't know about Alex Satterfield and other football fans, but I'm not paying Amazon to watch an NFL game on Thursday night. It's usually a dog game anyway. They haven't had good matchups. And, I mean, I got to draw the line somewhere, And I'm sorry, Amazon paid, $7 billion or something to the NFL for this thing?
You were watching tonight for two reasons, maybe three reasons. One, you're a fan of either one of the teams. Two, you've got money bet on the game, or you have fantasy players in the game.
Yeah. That'd be the only reason. And
I do, by the way.
I just gave you the wrong game tonight, too. Thank you, the bad boy, paying attention. I was just checking to see if he'd had too many wild turkeys already. He is paying attention. I was looking at last week's schedule. Tonight, no wonder he's paying attention. It's Virginia Tech at NC State.
Yeah, like I said, the Louisiana Southern Miss game will be better.
You can enjoy that anyway.
Those two bad football teams.
Why do I have last week's ACC notes in my file? That should not happen. I have to get my secretary to fix that. Fix that, Corn. So anyway, we mentioned Alex Satterfield, of course, a former pitcher at South Carolina, former quarterback in the North-South game, which is now the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl North-South game, which will be coming up in just a few weeks. And, of course, a friend of Sports Talk. Alex, it's great to have you with us. How are you?
Great, guys. How are you?
We are doing just dandy. What do you recall about your week at the beach playing in the North-South game back then?
Man, I tell you, that was so much fun. And I tell you that the best part is the friendships that you meet and create along the way, some of which I still follow up with a lot of those guys and keep in touch. I hunt with a few of them that I play with in the lower part of the state. So it's just so much fun, creating those relationships and staying, longtime friends. And that's what it's really all about. High school sports, it's fun to win games and everything, but building those relationships that last a lifetime is what really matters. So I tell you, we've had some good ones along the way and had a lot of fun.
What was the year you were in the game? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was 2011.
2011. Okay. I did that game, of course, because I've done them for like the last 30 years. So I'm just trying to see if I still have the, you know what? Hang on a second. 2000. I do have some pictures from that game. Marcus Lattimore was there. I see Shaquille Wharton played in that game. What was your jersey number? Do you remember?
Oh gosh. It was something different. I want to say number 11, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. I tell you, if you ask some of my coaches, especially with basketball, I've been known to forget my jersey several times. So if you ask Ryan Maloney, I wore like 2, 3, 7, 9. So it's just a matter of which game it was. You could ask. So that's what's always been funny when we look back on it.
Were you on the North team or the South team?
So I was on the North.
You're on the North.
I was on the North.
Nice,
Yes,
nice. Well, it's great to have you with us here once again on Sports Talk and contributor to what we do here on Sports Talk as well. And I know also from your baseball days, you're thinking about the World Series, which begins tomorrow night. You've been paying close attention to what's happening heading into the World Series?
I have. As you guys know, I'm a big Yankees fan, so it hurts my feelings them not being in it anymore. But getting beat by a really, really good Houston Astros team. I mean, I got to tip their hats off for them, especially all the crap that they've gone through over the past years, 6, 7 years. I mean, it's easy to kind of get the dumps about that, but they seem to always find a way to win and continue to push into the postseason. So I got to get my hat, tip my hat off to those guys. Really good pitching up there. So it's going to be a really tough team to beat, but I tell you, I can't wait for the series to start tomorrow because it's going to be a really, really good one.
Mm-hmm.
Alex, I think the narrative will be from Philadelphia's standpoint. If they don't win tomorrow night, it's because they did not start Zach Wheeler. The theory is they're giving Wheeler an extra days of rest, so he's better prepared to go game 2. And it's not like they're starting sliced cheese tomorrow night. I mean, Aaron Nola is an outstanding pitcher. Your take on the pitching staff for Philadelphia going up against that hitting side of the coin with Houston and vice versa. I mean, when you can run Justin Verlander out, should the Phillies maybe run out Zach Wheeler to face him tomorrow night?
I think it's kind of one of those things where Zach Wheeler has a better feel for his arm than anybody. So he's going to be one that makes that call. And, if him and the coaches come together and think that he's going to be more efficient, that extra day of rest, then I have to agree with it. I mean, Justin Verlander is going to come out there. He's going to always give you a chance to win. So, as far as the Houston standpoint, you got to feel good as a player. So, but you also got to think Nola. I mean, the guy's a stud. He was at LSU whenever I was coming through college at USC. So I've seen what he can do, and he's amazing. Man. He's got really good stuff. I think he's going to also give him a chance to win. I don't know, man. Like I said, it's going to be tough, but it seems like Houston finds a way to win. And like I was telling you, if you look at Houston's records, man, it's one team that you don't want to fall behind on early in the series because it seems like if you fall behind them, you're not catching back up. They're going to find a way to keep winning games and keep you behind. So I feel like Philly, their best bet is to get ahead early, take advantage and hopefully win game 1. But we'll see.
Rob Thompson has made the decision to go with Aaron Nola tomorrow. And if you look at their ERA in terms of Zach Wheeler with the extra days of rest, he's got an ERA just above 2. While normal rest, he's at a 3.66. Meantime, Aaron Nola is a 2.72 ERA compared to 3.84 when he's got normal rest. So looks like Aaron Nola with the extra rest really bounces back well. In your days of playing baseball, how important is that maybe 1 extra day, 2 extra days of rest for pitchers, especially when they get in a long series like that we have seen thus far here in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think it's huge for several reasons. I think, one, your breaking stuff is going to be a lot more efficient, whereas if you don't have quite as much rest, your pitches might not be as sharp, everything else. 2, I feel like if you get the extra day of rest, it enables you to go a lot longer. That way you're saving some of your bullpen for later on in the series. So if you can have Nola come out there and give you 7, possibly 8 good innings, you're set up really good for the rest of the series. So saving that pitching and having your starters go as long as possible in this postseason is only going to help them. So I think it's a good call on their part. If that will needs that extra day of rest, I think it's only going to benefit them by doing so.
Alex Centerfield, former USC baseball player and also a Farm Bureau insurance agent. He can handle – and we've got to ask before we transition any further, how much earthquake insurance have you sold Alex here in the Midlands the last few weeks?
Well, how much time you got? It is. I'll tell you, especially out on like the Blythewood side of town, it seems like those insureds felt a little more than than the rest of Columbia, but I tell you, it was very eye-opening because it seemed like we had a good many of them there over a couple-week period. And I tell you, it freaked a lot of people out, which they have the reason to. And it's not something that, you talk about every day. So, as my insurance, I expect them to call. And that's what we're here for as agents is you have those questions about earthquake or about whatever it is. That's the reason why they pick up the phone and call your agent. That way he can explain it because it is a big difference on your policy and it's not something that's included. So nobody's going to know that unless they ask. So by all means, for those out there listening, if you're curious about those coverages, please call your agent. That's what they're there for, and they can help you explain those things.
Couple of more minutes with Alex Satterfield. I wanted to get your take on fall baseball for the collegiate ranks because we're so immersed right now in what's going on the football field, and even with the infringement, if you will, of college basketball, kind of gets overlooked. But how important was your time when you were playing at USC to go through a fall camp to get ready for the spring?
I think fall is one of the most important times of the year. And the reason why I say that is because you have a lot going on at one time as far as competing and seeing what you have there in the lineup. And because you have underclassmen that are going to come up and you have some older guys there that, what they do is during this time period, they're pushing the weight room really, really hard. So they're going to do, strongman competition. So they'll split the pitchers up with the position players. And then they go to battle. They see who's the strongest. They'll go through and do pull up, a bunch of different kind of exercises to see. It's like a point system. So whoever has the most points at the end between the pitchers and position players as the winner of the strongman competition. So you have that going on, as well as scrimmages, and those scrimmages are intense. That you have guys that come out there and fans that love to come out there and watch, but they don't see behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, you don't see all the players going into the media room and having a draft and picking those teams garnet and black, and that's what it's all about. Because then you build that team chemistry, and like I said, you're competing all the time, and that's what those coaches like to see. They want to see who is going to be able to battle in the trenches when the season gets tough, and when you're having to dig deep. So this is that time of the year where it really brings it out in people because you're working out harder than you ever have all season long. It's weighing on your body, and now you're about to get geared up, get ready for a Christmas break, Thanksgiving break, stuff like that. So those guys are going harder now than they will all season long. So it's an exciting time to see what the pitchers have, and I'm excited. I'm excited to watch. I tell you, see what Carolina has this year.
Well, with that said, how big an impact do you believe Monty Lee will make on the coaching staff returning back to USC?
I've always had a great relationship with Monty. Monty is a great coach, and I'm so happy that Carolina scooped him back up because even when he went on to Charleston, I hated to see him leave. He was actually the first coach to ever recruit me. So whenever I was in 7th grade, I went to a Carolina baseball camp, and Monty Lee was the first coach to ever address me, and he said he liked the way I played, liked the way I carried myself, and that he was going to continue to watch me. And he took the time to kind of talk to me, and it wasn't even just about baseball; it was about school and about life. And that's a coach that you really want to be around. He's one that he's not just going to talk about baseball. He cares about you as a person, as an athlete, as a student, everything else, and it goes beyond the field, and that's what's important. Is a coach that's so well-rounded that wants the best for you. And I think he is going to be that guy that's going to recruit and build a relationship there with those guys and do good things. I cannot wait to see him on our staff and see how those guys are able to play upon him.
Got to talk pitching with you one more moment before we let you go here. I just wanted to ask you, you a guy, of course, who went through the arm trouble. You know what it's about, dealing with arm issues and trying to come back. And you're a Yankee guy, too, as am I. So we watched the Yankee bullpen decimated by injuries, and not just Yankees, other teams all across Major League Baseball. We see it. USC's baseball team was hit hard by arm injuries. What's going on? Is there anything now that you're older and wiser and you can take a step back and look at it? Can you put your finger on what you think's happening with these arms? Are we overworking the arms, pitching these guys too much, too young? The pitches that they're throwing, putting too much pressure on the arm? Is there anything you can think about that might be leading to all this?
Yeah, it is hard to really pinpoint one particular thing, like one particular instance where I felt that pain. But I really honestly think it all starts from the childhood. And I feel like this group now that's coming through that is in college now, and even when I was in college, about the time when I was 9 or 10 years old, is really when travel ball started to pick up. And it became very, very popular, and players started playing year round. And that's kind of what they were pushing is, hey, listen, if you want to make it to the next level, you need to get out there and you need to play and you need to pitch innings and play as much as you can. And I feel like, that age group that really took that serious and played a lot of baseball, I feel like that has an impact later on in life. And those kids don't see it now, when you're 9 and 10 years old and, you're walking out in the backyard, haven't thrown all day, and then you pick up a rock and, you have a competition with your buddy and two can throw that rock the furthest. You don't think about like little things like that. Even playing out wiffle ball in the backyard, you're throwing a ball that weighs, just a very few ounces, and you're throwing as hard as you can, trying to play pegs and stuff like that. There's just so many different things that I think kind of play a toll in it. And I think for me, between that and playing year round, ever since I was 10 years old, and then, you got football and I was quarterback there. So I was just constantly throwing. And I don't blame any of my coaches, any parents, anything like that. It was all myself. I would fight to be on that man. So it was their job to kind of pull me off of it, because if it was up to me, I would have thrown every single pitch, every single game. But as a coach, that's just something that you have to look out for, and it's not about that little league game. You're looking to the future and want what's best for that kid. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And you look at Garrett Cole. I mean, he's a great pitcher to look at. Mm-hmm. They were so strict with his pitch count, coming up through little leagues and everything else. And they were very, very strict. And look at him now. The guy's phenomenal. His arm's still holding up really well. And so I think it's little things like that start young that leads up to those arm injuries later on in life.
The pride of Lawrence Academy and also Farm Bureau Insurance in the Midlands, Alex Satterfield, our special guest here tonight. Alex, before we let you run, how can folks get in touch with you to take care of their insurance needs?
Yeah, they can reach me at my office number, which is 803-749-9171, or you can reach me you can shoot me an email, which is alexsatterfield@scfbins.com.
Alex, it's good to catch up with you, my friend. We appreciate the time. Thanks for the insight on the World Series. Ought to be a lot of fun starting tomorrow night, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Yeah, that sounds great, Chris. I appreciate you guys having me in and catching back up with you guys. It's always a pleasure to be here. If there's anything I can do to help you all, just don't hesitate to reach out.
Outstanding. Alex Satterfield from Farm Bureau Insurance, our guest tonight. By the way, Phil, Justin Verlander 0-6 in his World Series appearances, going in now, starting his, 8th game now.
Yeah, but still having a great year, and a guy
Yes,
with a
he is.
dynamite arm. All right, back after the break. Thank you, Alex, for being with us. We'll be right back.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef. It's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff program.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HDTVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
Drop top Porsche, rolling on my wrist, diamonds up and down my chain. Cardi B straight stunning, can't tell me nothing. Bossed up and I changed the game. It's my big bronze boogie, got all them girls shook. My big fat, got all them boys cooked. All
right, coming up on the top of the hour, thanks again to Alex Satterfield for joining us here on Sports Talk. There's only one way to top that, and that's by going to Gamecock Larry over in Swansea. And glad you're joining us. By the way, Gamecock Larry, let me suggest, since we just had the great Alex Satterfield on with us, terrific insurance agent, have you gotten your earthquake insurance? And if you haven't, then I suggest you give Alex a call real soon.
Okay, sir, but I'm too old for earthquake insurance.
What?
I'm too old.
Earthquakes don't care what your age is.
Okay, tell him I might call him. But let me tell you, I had a bad evening yesterday. I changed my radios over from the other station to 100.7. I got two radios, one on 100.7, one on this other station. And I changed over about 2 minutes to 6. I put my earbuds in my ear, and I don't know, they doubled up on my pain medicine the last couple of days and got me on some kind of new antibiotic. Anyway, I must have dozed off because I woke up at about 4 minutes to 8. And you all were going off the air about 8 o'clock, so I didn't have time to call in. But you didn't put me to sleep. That's not good medicine.
Medicine.
You know the doctors. Man, I don't know. I wish they just leave me alone. I'm all right.
I agree with you.
Yes, sir. Another thing, I got a message sometime last night from a restricted number. They don't leave the number, so I can call them back.
Yeah.
From Mo the Tiger.
Mo the Tiger.
Mo the Tiger, and he said, I'm the Mo from Missouri, not from the ACC. He wanted to make sure I don't know who he is, but anyway, I ain't going to fuss with you tonight, Mo the Tiger. I got something to tell you more than that if Mr. Field let me talk. That's about all I got to say tonight. But Gamecock Nation, I cannot stand old Drink, whatever you call him. I call him Drink a Lot because he told me today, heard him today on SEC Network, sitting down on the sidewalk side going into the building or something, talking about why he would the visor. Whatever you call that word, Steve Spurrier. I'm the new Steve Spurrier, SEC. Oh, Drink Winch, you couldn't carry Steve Spurrier's jock strap. I don't know, boy, you ought to be crazy. You wait. Bring your stuff on down there. I'm going to tell them what I'm going to tell you tomorrow. But I'm going to tell you something, Gamecock Nation. Woo-wee. We gonna take a tiger to the woodshed Saturday afternoon.
All right, we got to go, and you enjoy your rest tonight, Larry. Maybe we'll talk to you next week if all goes well. Hit the break here, top of the hour. We'll be back.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. There are new grants to help homeless veterans.
The Department of Veterans has announced grant programs to help veterans who are homeless or who are at risk of losing their homes. The grants are for the federal budget year that starts October 1st, 2023. The Supportive Services for Veterans Families program provides services to quickly rehouse veterans and their families who are homeless. And it can help prevent the imminent loss of a veteran's home or find new, more suitable housing options for veterans and their families. Two other grants will help pay for transitional supportive housing beds or service centers and can provide apartment-style housing for veterans who can keep the units after they complete the program. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina says Democrats fear the election of Herschel Walker in Georgia because it would dismantle their claim the GOP is racist.
Senator Graham says a Walker victory in Georgia would demonstrate the GOP is not racist, much to the annoyance of Democrats and Hollywood elites. Graham says, quote, they're afraid of Herschel Walker because if Herschel Walker wins, that means we're not racist. And if you're a Republican, aren't you tired of being called a racist all the time by everybody? Walker is in a tight race with incumbent Democrat Raphael Warnock, also African-American, for a Georgia seat likely to determine which party controls the Senate. Bob Agnew reporting.
Climate extremists have targeted Johannes Vermeer's masterpiece Girl with a Pearl Earring with glue and liquid, but one of the world's most iconic paintings was not damaged in the latest of such publicity-seeking stunts. A video posted on Twitter showed one man pouring a can of red substance over another protester who appeared to attempt to glue his head to the glass-protected painting. The second man stuck his hand to the panel holding the centuries-old painting. On Wall Street, a mixed day as the Dow was up by 194 points. More at townhall.com.
You know how much you're really paying for life insurance through work? I can almost guarantee you're overpaying for limited coverage. I'm Joel Clark, a Select Quote agent for over 20 years. My clients are shocked to learn how expensive life insurance at work really is because of a rate that's driven up by unhealthy people. Why pay more when you don't have to? For over 35 years, SelectQuote has helped people save 50% or more by shopping highly rated insurance carriers. I found a 40-year-old man with high blood pressure, a $500,000 policy for only $18 a month. Don't procrastinate. Workplace open enrollment will be here soon. Let SelectQuote save you money and get you the coverage you need to protect your family.
For your free quote in just minutes, call 1-800-865-2266. That's 1-800-865-2266. 1-800-865-2266. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Full details on example policy and carrier ratings at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Price could vary by health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
An agreement between Israel and Lebanon. The latest from the media lines, Felice Friedson.
The maritime border agreement between Lebanon and Israel ranks among the most historic events in recent history of the Middle East. The deal opened the door to the two countries' access to massive natural gas fields beneath the floor of the Mediterranean, an economic bonanza desperately needed by the Lebanese. But the negotiations were conducted by the American government without the parties speaking face-to-face at Beirut's insistence, citing the state of war between Israel and since the creation of the Jewish state. On Thursday, Lebanese President Michel Aoun approved the agreement by signing a letter, notably not a treaty, and notably with no Israelis present. Nevertheless, the parties hail the achievement. I'm Felice Friedson, Town Hall News, Jerusalem.
News and analysis at themedialine.org and townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Well, it's been nice today. Look for some clouds to roll in for tonight. We'll stay dry, a low of 51. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, a high of 69. Now, for the weekend, look for a cloudy Saturday, a high of 68. About a 40% chance of showers for Sunday, with high temperatures topping out at 70. For Halloween on Monday, rain chances up to 50%. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. Sports Talk on a big Thursday night across the state of South Carolina from the Dave and Buster's studio here in downtown Columbia. Phil Kornblut, Pat Daniel here, and we have Chris Bergen at the Berge Palace over in Sardis, not far from the Florence Motor Speedway.
No, it's not.
Where you can hear the cars run when they
It's
run.
true.
Yeah.
It's true on Saturday evenings.
You will hear Dale Jr. there in November.
You know, I had forgotten that, and since I wasn't here Tuesday when you chatted with Gary Tharp about that, I can't imagine the amount of interest that they're going to have in that race with Dale Jr. I mean, anywhere he goes, he's a rock star. I mean, he's the Beatles for NASCAR. I don't know that they have enough seating over there to handle
No, I wouldn't think
the amount
so.
of people that want to see him race.
I wouldn't think so. All right, time for a racy guy himself, Mike Morgan. Morgan on the move because he's speeding from this point to that point. He's got ACC football on the radio coming up this weekend. Of course, it's all around the SEC. Mike is brought to you by Play It Again Sports in Columbia. Chris Mosley, folks over there have you all covered with your sporting good needs. They buy and sell quality and used and new sports and fitness gear all day, every day. Check them out at their unmatched Harbison location, 1270 Bauer Parkway. That's just outside of Columbia. All right, Mike, welcome into Sports Talk. Great to have you with us once again. Since the last time we talked to you, the Gamecocks have extended their winning streak to 4. They've broken into the top 25. They're thinking, well, maybe their fans are thinking, got a chance to get to 7-2 here over the next 2 weeks. What are you thinking about the Gamecocks?
I think it all sounds pretty damn good. I think more impressive than the streak and the ranking, because those can be somewhat misleading. I just take the back-to-back wins at Kentucky and against Texas A&M, and you think about all the demons that were exercised with those 2 wins. And, I mean, at Kentucky speaks for itself. And I know A&M is having a down year, but not because of effort. They're just losing games to better teams. And in this case, South Carolina was a better team, but you wouldn't know that based on Vegas. You wouldn't know that based on a lot of people thinking that at the end of the day, the Aggies had more stars next to their names and that they felt like they had to have that game and they were going to come into Columbia like they have in the past and been kind of impose their will over them. And that just didn't happen. I mean, Carolina was just a better team. So, I mean, I think, look, I've talked about this on your show before. The 3-2 start is exactly where I thought they would be. And this season was going to be defined by games like Kentucky, like A&M, like Missouri this weekend, like Florida. That's going to determine not only where the season is, but where the program is trending. And if you can't be positive about where Shane Beamer has this group right now, then that's on you. I mean, there's a lot of things to be pretty hyped up about if you're a Carolina fan at this point.
Well, you got 2 teams here with pretty good defenses. I think South Carolina probably has the overall edge in special teams. And you got 2 offenses that are, I'm not going to say South Carolina's offense is struggling. They're just not producing maybe like they should. Now, what about Missouri's offense? I mean, they've had a terrific running game over the years, and their running backs have given South Carolina fits. The guy that was there last year, Beatty, of course, he's moved on, and he was terrific. But what about their offense this year? What can you put your finger on why they've had some issues with their offense? Is it the line? Is it the new quarterback? What's the issue there?
I think it's all of the above. I can't put my finger on what their offense is. Coach Drinkwitz is a good offensive mind when he has weapons. I just don't think they have many weapons. You mentioned the loss of Beatty. That was their all-everything running back. It was an NFL talent. A couple of years ago, I had a couple of Connor Bazelak's games, and I thought he was the future. But what happens? He transfers out. He's starting somewhere else now, and I don't think they really have completely solved the quarterback spot. I don't think they're great in any particular facet. All that being said, they play teams close. They could have, would have, should have beaten Auburn. They could have, would have, should have beaten Florida. And they had a lead on Georgia in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly this is not going to be a cakewalk because one thing Missouri does do, they play hard. And Coach Shrinkwitz, he's certainly taking some heat right now from what I understand from the people of Como. But he's got his team motivated to play. They'll certainly be out there ready to go. I just don't think they're a particularly talented team on either side of the football. I think Carolina, you could make the point that you could make the case, and it's all debatable, that Kentucky is a more talented team. Some people would tell you Texas A&M was a more talented team, and yet the Gamecocks still found ways to win those games. I would say Carolina is the more talented team in this matchup. So even though Missouri is scrappy and they play everybody tight, I do think top to bottom, this is a better Gamecock roster than what you'll see on the other sideline.
Yeah. Luther Burden's a special player, though. I mean, they won a major recruiting battle to get him, and South Carolina's got to be wary of him, both at receiver and also in the punt return game.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he was one of those five-star guys, and Missouri doesn't get many of those. Of course, they had, was it Dorian Green Beckham years ago? Remember him?
Yeah.
They always seem to pluck out like one of those every couple recruiting cycles. The problem with Missouri over the last, 10 years is that they don't have an SEC roster the likes of the top teams. They came in, the East was terribly down. They had a record amount of first-round draft picks on the defensive line. And once that cycled through, they really haven't looked that way since. They've just kind of they try to win games in spite of the fact that more often than not, I don't think they're as talented as the other team. And so I think that's the case here. Like you mentioned their stud receiver. Last year they had a stud running back. In particular cases, they've had I can't remember the name of the guy who was a really good linebacker a couple of years ago. He's in the NFL now. I was really impressed when I saw him up close. But 1 through 22, they're overmatched, and that's been the story of Missouri football since they joined the league now for the last 10 years or so. And I think it's a very winnable game. And if you win it, you just keep that momentum going. And it's got a chance to be a special season. I couldn't help but think when you go back to those 3 11-win seasons, okay, not to take away anything, but again, the East was not particularly good. And those teams that Spurrier had, they didn't just blow people out, right? I mean, basically it was like, keep it close for 3 quarters. We've got a Hall of Fame coach. What do you have? And then we'll win it in the fourth quarter. And that's what those teams did. They won a lot of close games en route to 3 consecutive 11-win seasons. That's kind of what this team reminds me of. Now, they're not as talented. They don't have a Jadeveon Clowney. They don't have an Alshon Jeffrey. But the way they're winning games and the process that Shane is building this program, I can't help but think a little bit back to those days in which, again, you don't go out and you just beat teams by 30 because you've got Georgia, Alabama-like talent, but you're doing just enough to win games, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Mike Morgan and Morgan on the Move here on Sports Talk tonight. And Mike, sort of a grander scope question with regards to the SEC. First off, is the East now better than the West, or is it just maybe the top 2 teams in the East are better than anybody in the West? And secondly, could a 1-loss Tennessee or a 1-loss Georgia team that doesn't win the division, could you foresee them getting into the playoffs?
Those are 2 great questions with 2 tough answers because I still give the West top to bottom the edge. Okay. There's no Vanderbilt in the Western Division for one. There's some really good teams that right now are not getting talked about as much. Mississippi State to me is still a very good team, but they hit a couple of tough teams and they lost. Ole Miss finally got humbled, but LSU is finding its way. Alabama is still damn good. Auburn is a soap opera, but nobody wants to play them. In spite of that, Arkansas under Coach Pittman, I know they've hit a tough time, but they're still good. I still think the West is slightly better, but I do think that the East is finally starting to catch up. And Carolina is a big part of that equation. Much like Tennessee all of a sudden turning it around, eventually Florida's going to have to turn it around to really make a statement. Of course, it all might be a moot point in a couple of years if we don't have divisions. But for right now, the East, I think, is gaining ground. The other question I already forgot.
What was your backup
Apparently
question?
You guys did too.
Chris, what was your backup question?
No, sorry. My computer died on me. I apologize, Mike. The other question was, could you see let's say the loser of the Georgia-Tennessee game does not lose another game? Could they get into the playoffs?
Right. I mean, again, the only way to answer that question is to know, does TCU lose a game? Does Clemson lose a game? And the loser of Michigan, Ohio State, they'd obviously have to have only one loss and be competitive in that one game in all likelihood. So the answer to the question is, yeah, it's a possibility. There's no question. But in terms of how it's going to wind up, it's going to be completely contingent upon all the other things going on. Because this is not like last year. Last year, you had so many conferences that lacked a good team that it paved the way for Cincinnati to get in there. It paved the way for all the top Power 5 conferences to get shut out with the exception of the SEC and the Big Ten. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think this year the Pac-12 is likely out, but the Big 12 is still in play. The ACC is still in play. The Big Ten and the SEC are not only in play, but they both have a chance to have multiple teams in the playoffs. So I think we actually do have a little bit of drama in the month of November, which is what we all want.
Little curveball, but since we're sneaking up on college basketball season, I didn't want to get your take sort of on Lamont Paris and what he's facing. Is he in a better position taking over South Carolina than, say, Frank Martin was and certainly Darren Horn was, because maybe he's inheriting at least a stable program, and that's hard to say with the amount of turnover they've had, but he does have an NBA prospect in G.G. Jackson.
Well, look, I was there when Darren took over for Dave. Darren didn't have a rebuild. Darren inherited a team with Devin Downey, Zam Frederick, Mike Holmes, Sam Muldrow. Like that was not a rebuild. Dave Odom actually left the program in pretty good shape, and Darren Horn took it, and we all know what he did with it. What Darren left for Frank Martin, what Darren left for Frank Martin was a complete disaster. Frank inherited, it was almost like taking over a program on coming off probation. So I don't think it's as good as it was when Darren got the job. I don't think it's as bad as it was when Frank got the job. I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think they're picked last because other than a highly touted freshman, most people don't know anybody on that roster. But I've seen this movie enough times, and I've done enough SEC basketball games where there's always a team in that bottom third that nobody thought would be worth a darn, and they put together a hell of a year. Maybe that's this year's Gamecock squad. I don't know. I know I've got them December 22nd, I believe, is the first time I'll see them in person against Western Kentucky. But there's so many questions there. It's really hard to answer what they're going to look like. But I know there's a lot of excitement in the air. I think anytime you bring in a new regime, there's excitement, and you got a McDonald's All-American, that brings even more excitement.
Changing gears here a little bit, Mike, going to switch over to the Carolina Panthers, if I may. Obviously, a lot going on there right now. Yesterday was the 29th birthday of when the Panthers were born, and P.J. Walker is starting again this weekend, even though we're now finding out Baker Mayfield is healthy. Christian McCaffrey has been traded. It looks like it's full rebuild mode. What do you foresee happening here with the Panthers? Will they tank for higher draft picks, continue to sell off assets, or what do you expect, and what kind of coach do you think they might bring in for the future?
Well, they have been extremely unpredictable, and not much has worked here the last few years. I thought the McCaffrey deal was a good deal because they needed draft picks and needed to dump some salary. That's a start. But you're nowhere in this league if you don't have a quarterback, and they don't have a franchise quarterback. Maybe Matt Corral becomes that guy. I don't know, but you go there, then you've got to find skilled players that are special. You have, I don't know, a couple, but I mean, you don't have a lot. This is not going to be rebuilt on one trade or even one draft. I think it's going to take a couple of years. The good news is it's the NFL. And in the NFL, you typically don't stay down for long if you make the right moves. So if you make the right moves, you know, we could be talking about a playoff team in, say, 2025. But for right now, it's just you look at that roster, and it kind of is what it is. In terms of where they go for the coach, your guess is as good as mine. I really don't know. Obviously, Matt Rule is a hot name at the time. I would have hired Matt Rule personally. Matt Rule was a very attractive candidate, but it didn't work out. So now you got to roll the dice and find somebody else.
All right, last thing, and we'll let you get back to your party that we weren't invited to.
It's not really a party, I promise. It's a bunch of screaming kids in a shopping center, but go ahead.
All right. So
it's at Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, exactly.
So
give me some tokens.
Besides Gamecocks and Mizzou, two other eye-catching games in the SEC, of course, down in Jacksonville and over in Knoxville. And real quick, you see either of the underdogs having a chance to pull off the upset?
In the case of Jacksonville, no. I don't think Florida's even in the same ballpark as Georgia. I think that's domination. What was the other game you asked about?
Knoxville.
No. I think Tennessee is. I think Tennessee is too good right now. So no, I don't anticipate one of those crazy upset Saturdays. I think we're heading to a collision course. Tennessee Georgia game and the LSU Alabama game. Those are going to determine a lot. We're just going to have to wait another week to see it.
Yeah, and you've got radio this weekend. You've got an ACC game.
Yeah, ESPN Radio. I've got your boy Tony Elliott, coaching Virginia against Miami. You know, when I got this game, both these teams were supposed to be in a lot better situation. They both have quarterbacks that everybody loved coming in. Miami finished last year really strong. Virginia, Brennan Armstrong, 10,000 career yards. A lot of people think he's going to be a high draft pick, but for whatever reason, both teams have really sputtered. Virginia has no offensive line. They're still trying to get an identity under Coach Elliott. And Miami, I don't even know where to start. I mean, it's just been a colossal disappointment. So technically, because it's a coastal division, they can still say they're in it to win it. And besides that, they certainly want to be bowl eligible. So there's plenty to play for, but there's no doubting the fact that neither one of these teams have gotten off to the start that they thought they would.
All right, my man, you have a great weekend. Enjoy the chunky cheese there, wherever you're at. The merry-go-round. You're at the little fair there at the local, little local shopping center. So you enjoy.
Sure.
And
okay.
We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Be well.
See you. All right, Mike Morgan.
It did sound like Chuck E. Cheese. I'm sorry.
It did.
In the background, it really did.
It sounded like he was at one of those little fairs that pops up, in these shopping centers.
Oh yeah, with the Ferris wheel that's barely tall enough for the baskets to ride around.
Yeah. All right, to the break we go. And on the other side, we'll have the recruiting report, and then we've got a visit from Will and the Thrill coming up. See where the rivalry meter sits tonight. See if Will comes off that 10. Doubtful. See if Carl is pushing the Gamecocks a little more ahead. I'm sure he is, coming off that win last week. Recruiting, Will and the Thrill coming up, and we'll be back after the break.
If an insurance company is there to sell you insurance, shouldn't it also be there to service it with real people? At Farm Bureau Insurance, we're here to help with experienced agents ready to provide personal service when you need it most. Call today for your free no-obligation review for auto, home, and life insurance that's custom tailored just for you.
Whether it's home, auto, or life insurance, Buddy Bridges and Farm Bureau Insurance have the right policy for you. Call Buddy today in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174.
South Carolina Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, Southern Farm Bureau Casualty Insurance Company, Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi.
In Columbia, South Carolina, the game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at ExperienceColumbiaSC.com.
Founders Federal Credit Union knows your life is busy and your money is important. We are proud to offer local personalized services and convenient online services like Founders Online and the Founders app. You'll love being with us as much as we love serving you. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership with Founders. Relax, win with Founders. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
To recruiting we go on this big Thursday, brought to you by Seawells. You got something coming up and he's the best in the catering business. Just make the one call you need to make. That's to Seawells. And their phone number is 803-771-7385 at SeawellsCateringSC.com online to get all the information in advance. And, of course, the daily luncheon buffet coming up tomorrow. Got a feeling it's a roast beef Friday. And 11 to 2 will be the serving time. And you might want to get there at 11 and take your time and just eat until 2. You can start eating at 11. You can finish up at 2.
Idea.
Yeah, just go on 3 hours and enjoy yourself. One price for 3 hours. You can eat for 3 hours. I'm not sure they'll let you, refill your plate that many times, but you can eat slowly and enjoy the surroundings. Rosewood Drive in Columbia for Seawells. So in recruiting, of course, at Woodland, we know about 2024 offensive tackle Cam Pringle. He's a major recruit. His teammates, Darian Harrison, 5'9", 170, an athlete, a virtual unknown in the 23 class going into the season, but now he's kind of blown up. Virginia, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, Virginia Tech, Louisville, they've all offered him. And up until this week, he had nothing from USC and Clemson. And now the Gamecocks have reached out. Montario Hardesty contacting him, inviting him in for the game on Saturday. He plans to come in to watch the Gamecocks. It'll be his second time. He actually came up and watched them practice in the spring. He can play receiver, slot receiver, defensive back, punt returner. Tony Elliott was the first to offer, and that means something to him coming from Virginia, that offer, and the fact they were first. He's got an official visit to Virginia scheduled for December the 2nd. Oklahoma coach Brent Venables also knew about him when he was at Clemson, and the Sooners have offered as well. And that was the connection there, the fact that Venables, Robert Smith, who played for Venables at Clemson, is out of Woodland, and the connection back to the school led to Venables following up on Harrison. He's also a basketball player. Before he joined the Wolverines, he played at McCormick High School, so something to keep an eye on there. South Florence quarterback Lenoris Sellers told us last night he's postponing his scheduled unofficial visit to Syracuse this Saturday because the noon kickoff, that time is not going to be good for him to get up there, especially after the big game he's got Friday night against West Florence. He had expected that game, Syracuse and Notre Dame, to be a night game. Thus, he had planned to go up there for an unofficial visit. He will reschedule that. He's still committed to Syracuse, though he's gotten that offer from South Carolina. As of last night, he told us no plans to come to the South Carolina game on Saturday, and they've invited him to come into any of their remaining home games, so we'll see what happens there. USC will have another large group of visitors in for the game. One official visit, defensive tackle Elijah Davis, 6'4", 300 of Wagner Sally in East Mississippi Junior College. The Gamecocks have recruited him for several years. He visited in May and in June, but he's developed in one of the top JUCO prospects in the class. Alabama, Florida, Auburn, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Maryland, Virginia Tech, Miami, Texas, Georgia, Florida State, Tennessee, they've all offered him. Others who are coming in to South Carolina Saturday, and they have publicized their visit, 23 running back Cooper Johns of River Bluff, 23 Greenville tight end Cameron Perfader, 23 athlete, as I mentioned, Darian Harrison of Woodland, 24 quarterback Riley Staten of Gray Collegiate. We'll give you more after the break, and also Will and the Thrill coming up.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Well, it's been nice today. Look for some clouds to roll in for tonight. We'll stay dry, a low of 51. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, a high of 69. Now, for the weekend, look for a cloudy Saturday, a high of 68. About a 40% chance of showers for Sunday, with high temperatures topping out at 70. For Halloween on Monday, rain chances up to 50%. I'm Kevin Dorn with your on-point local weather.
You've waited to start the big project at your home. Wait no more. All Southern Construction is the local family-owned and operated group to make your dream a reality. We do home additions, sunrooms, decks, and porches. We can also do shingle or metal roofing, and our work is guaranteed. Whether it's a repair or a brand new addition, All Southern Construction will be with you from start to finish. Online, find us at allsouthernconstruction.com or give us a call at 206-4816. That's 206-4816.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Hawaii officials are warning residents of the Big Island that the world's largest active volcano, Mauna Loa, is sending signals that it may erupt. Scientists say an eruption isn't imminent, but they are on alert because of a recent spike in earthquakes at the volcano's summit. Experts say it would take just a few hours for lava to reach homes closest to vents on the volcano, which last erupted in 1984. Average prices on new and used vehicles have begun easing from their record highs, and more vehicles have become available at dealerships. The average used vehicle price in September was down 1% from its peak in May. Even so, auto purchases remain unaffordable for many. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 194 points, but the Nasdaq dropped 178, the S&P lower by 23. This is SRN News.
If you're an avid shooter or you're new to shooting, Shooter's Choice is your paradise. A firearms specialty store with all types of firearms, ammunition, accessories, AR platform rifles, shotguns, hunting rifles, and much more. Shooter's Choice has the largest and best selection of firearms in the area. Shooter's Choice is the oldest, the most professional firearms dealer in the Midlands. They've served us for more than 30 years. Family owned, they've never let themselves lose that hometown feel. You go into Shooter's Choice, you'll get experts who hunt and shoot. It's not like some big box store. Their staff has decades of experience. You just won't get this anywhere else. From the classics to the newest cutting-edge products anywhere in the firearms world, they buy, sell, and trade firearms. They have an indoor firing range for handguns and hunting rifles. If you don't want to spend the gas money, hop on ShootersChoiceSC.com and shop online 24/7. Whatever you choose, Shooter's Choice will make it easy on you. In West Columbia at 944 Sunset Boulevard or online, ShootersChoiceSC.com. Make it your first choice. Your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Hi, this is Marcia Klayman.
And I'm Karen Pickard. We're your hosts for The Positive Point on Aging.
We'll talk about aging gracefully and senior care every Tuesday morning from 8:30 to 9 o'clock a.m.
Join us right here on The Point for The Positive Point on Aging.
Brought to you by Oakley Village of Lexington.
Hi, honey. How was your first day back at work?
Well, that slip and fall sure did cause me some pain and discomfort. And this swollen ankle is no fun. Thanks to True Pharmacy, the day wasn't a complete waste.
I'm so glad they were able to get you all set up with your ACE bandage wrap and even a set of crutches.
Yes, who knew you could rent your crutches from True Pharmacy?
And they even have wheelchairs to rent and sell. That's good information to know in case we ever need it for our parents as they get older.
I'm so glad we found True Pharmacy. True Pharmacy, 2 locations, West Columbia and Divine Street.
Hey, it's the Cigar Militia. We want to thank the Midlands for a wonderful first year. Thank you for helping us grow. We had no idea we had so many good friends out there. One thing I love about the cigar culture is we all have our favorite brands, but we're also willing to try new ones too. Come in and get your old standby or have one of our knowledgeable staff members walk you through the humidor to your new favorite. We're at 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard in the same plaza as the Melting Pot Restaurant.
Hi, this is Chris Neely from the South Carolina Public Charter School District. Join me Monday afternoons at 5:30 as I team up with Kev for Kids First. We'll tackle the issues facing our schools, pointing out the positives with our students and teachers. Kids First, Mondays at 5:30 on The Point.
Everyone seems to be hiring these days, but are they good jobs where there's potential for growth? What about on-the-job training and competitive wages, including health insurance and a 401k plan? Professional Printers is looking for their next star. They're a local printer with 2 locations, 130 employees, and a national clientele. If you've got a good attitude, want to learn some great skills, and work in a positive environment, reach out on proprinters.com or apply in person at 301B Greystone Boulevard.
All right, coming up in just a moment, a visit with Will and the Thrill here on Sports Talk. Let me wrap up the recruiting report. In fact, coming up, two guys who never made my recruiting report back in the day. Well, maybe Carl did. Not sure Will ever made the recruiting report. Of course, when I talked to Will at the North-South game that year, I think it was down to Clemson, North Greenville, Presbyterian.
Really?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
I think it was just Clemson all the way at that point in time. I'm sure he'll debate me on that coming up in just a moment. All right, back to the recruiting. We wrap things up. Got a few more notes to share with you here, talking about players coming into South Carolina. So we picked that back up. 24 running back Davian Brown of Fort Dorchester. 24 punter Tucker Tevpaw, Hilton Head Christian. 24 offensive tackle Josiah Thompson of Dillon plans to come in, he tells us. 25 running back.
Stud.
Yeah, 25 running back Amari Alston of Loganville, Georgia. 25 quarterback A.J. Brand of Irmo. 25 linebacker Sam Haley of Nashville. A couple of players tweeted out they have invitations, but they didn't say they were coming. 23 defensive end tight end Patrick Swigert of Batesburg, Leesville, 6'3", 255. He actually was at Clemson last weekend. 24 linebacker Tristan Jernigan of Tupelo, Mississippi. USC target running back Khalifa Keith was offered by Mississippi State. Athlete Edwin Joseph, offered by USC in late September, going to visit Florida State Saturday. Offensive tackle Elijah Phillips of Lackawanna Junior College, Pennsylvania, told us this afternoon he's had no contact from USC for weeks. He was offered by the Gamecocks in May. He took an official visit in July. He told us he had a flare-up with an assistant coach and was suspended for a couple of weeks. He said he notified his USC recruiters about that incident, and he says they haven't contacted him since. He is back on the team. He's in the good graces of the coaching staff. He has scheduled officials to Maryland December 9th and Florida State December 16th. USF, Washington State, and FIU are some other recent offers. Clemson target defensive end Tamarian Parker taking a visit to Texas A&M this weekend. He's on their reported list of visitors this weekend. I'm not sure if that's official or unofficial. He took an official to Clemson last weekend. Tennessee, Florida, Georgia are also contenders. Other officials of note this weekend: Clemson target safety Khalil Barnes of Notre Dame. USC target offensive tackle DJ Chester to Michigan. Clemson target offensive tackle Spencer Fano to Michigan. USC target cornerback Tyler Scott to Auburn. Wren safety Trevon West plans to announce his next commitment Saturday. He decommitted from Indiana earlier in the month. He was at Georgia Tech for that Thursday game that I thought was tonight. He was at Georgia Tech last Thursday and Wake Forest on Saturday. USC Clemson target 24 offensive tackle Fletcher Westphal going to announce his top schools November 30th. Clemson USC target 24 tight end defensive end King Joseph Edwards at Michigan this weekend. 24 defensive tackle Heaven Brown Schuler, Clemson USC target at North Carolina this weekend. He was at USC last Saturday. 24 safety Kelvin Hunter of West Florence plans to visit Appalachian State Saturday. USC is offered. 24 running back Midland Valley. Let's do that again. 24 Midland Valley running back Trayvon Dunbar offered by Maryland. USC offered 24 receiver Caleb Odom, 6'5", 205 of Carrollton, Georgia. He plans to visit for the Tennessee game. And 2024 basketball star Cam Scott of Lexington offered by Wichita State. Duke was in to see him yesterday. He was at USC last night. 2026 shortstop Cameron Jackson of Georgia Premier Academy committed to USC. And 2026 outfielder first baseman Jackson Matthews of Davidson, North Carolina, committed to Clemson. All right, there you go with the recruiting report tonight, brought to you by Seawells. It is time to welcome in once again to Sports Talk. Two guys we seldom talked about in recruiting, but we talked about them a lot during their playing days, and that's what matters. Time for Will and the Thrill. Will Merritt of Clemson fame and Carl Hill of USC fame. It's good to have the two of them with us here on Sports Talk. Carl, let's start with you since the Gamecocks are playing this weekend. They've won 4 in a row. They're nationally ranked now. How you feeling?
Feeling pretty good, man. I just remember the very first conversation, the very first show of the season. I told you this got an opportunity to be a very special season, similar to the 1984 season. And I don't know where it's going to go, but we have an opportunity to kind of do some really nice things right here. We'll probably be favored, Phil. This week we are. Next week we will be. We'll probably be favored at Florida as well.
Oh,
so,
whoa.
Why wouldn't we be Florida? Florida won't even have a 500 record when we play them down there. They play Georgia this week. That's an L. They play Texas A&M. That's probably an L.
Mm-hmm.
So their season almost will be over with by the time that we play them. Unlike the team we're playing this weekend, if they don't beat us, their season is done. So we're gonna be in a cockfight this weekend.
All right. Well, I mean, the Gamecocks have got to stay focused. You sound kind of like some of the fans out there who think they've kind of got it made here, like just gonna romp right into Clemson, sitting on 8 wins, and maybe going for a 9th win or a 10th win.
Well, you must got that crystal ball out there. You reading stuff I ain't saying. Because I ain't said none of that. This weekend is going to be a cockfight. Their defense is extremely good. One of the best defenses in the SEC. They've shown how good they are. We're going to have to play football this weekend and win this football game.
Mm-hmm.
This is not going to be a cakewalk this weekend. This team plays hard. So you don't have to worry about them being down or getting the big head. This team plays hard every game and every weekend. So that won't be an issue. We have better talent, I think, than they do. We have a better quarterback than they do. They are, like I told you last week, our defensive line had the cupcakes in front of the offensive line helmets. They're going to be eating cupcakes again this weekend. Our defensive line is going to continue to improve. They're going to do the same thing that they did at Texas A&M. They're going to do the same thing to Missouri this weekend. That's the ball game, baby.
All right. Let's welcome in Will Merritt, former Tiger player, broadcaster, keeps a close watch on the Tigers. There's no quarterback controversy up there, right? I mean, Dabo Swinney was quick to say DJ is still the guy, but is DJ now on a shorter leash in that, the first mess up or two early in a ball game, they might go quickly to Klubnik instead of giving him a chance to work things out like they may have done previously?
I don't think the lease is any shorter than it was at the beginning of the year, Phil. I'm gonna be very honest with you. I think that they still have all the confidence and the faith in DJ. I had lunch with Brandon Streeter yesterday, and we actually talked about it yesterday. We very rarely talk football when we meet, but I was interested just like anybody else was. So I asked him, and the thing about DJ, he said that the leadership that he brings not only to the field, but what he brings to the sidelines, the locker room, practice, film room, the stuff that you don't necessarily see on the scoreboard are the intangibles that have allowed DJ to solidify himself as QB1. And I think that I don't think they're going to be quick to jerk him out of the game. I think the turnovers were such an anomaly against Syracuse. I mean, you haven't seen Clemson turn the ball over like that in so long. And it just was not his day. And I'm not saying that they were saying that Klubnik was going to be the savior, but they needed a spark, and that's what he added. He added a spark. He added 3 drives that they scored on and a beautiful 2-point conversion pass. He gave them the spark they needed when DJ did not have the hot hand that he has had the first 7 weeks of the year. As far as controversy is concerned, I do not think it exists at all. DJ will be your starter. Street and I talked about that yesterday. He's got all the confidence in the world in him. He just made some bad throws, and it's just like a golfer. Sometimes, you go out there and you can shoot, like you do, 68 all the time, every time you go out, Phil.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, you're like me and you shoot 168.
Yeah.
So, it's just, I think that it's just like a batter having a slump. Sometimes you just don't have the hot hand. I'm not saying that Klubnik had the hot hand. He didn't really do anything that spectacular throwing the football. It was something different. It was something to rally behind. It was a spark they needed, and thus they come back and win the football game in the fourth quarter.
But does it not bother you? It was the biggest game of the season for Clemson, your biggest game. I mean, you're facing the team you needed to beat next to put yourself in position to win the division.
Sure.
And does it not bother the Clemson hierarchy that their quarterback would have such a off day, such a miserable day, as they would call it, an off day, in the biggest game? I mean, does that not concern them?
Well, it was the biggest game because it was the next game. And Clemson's got, as we've talked many a times, Phil, and you know this to be true. You've seen it more football than I have over the years because you're so much older than me. But
wait a minute, that doesn't. No. You add up the practices that you participated in over the years, and you've probably seen more football than I have.
Don't talk about practice. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. But Phil, here's the deal. Yes, it was the biggest game because every game that Clemson's playing right now is an 8-0 top 5 team in the country, multiple national championships in the last couple years. They've got a gigantic target on their back with every team. There's not a game. The Florida State at Florida State was the biggest game of the year. Wake Forest at Wake Forest was the biggest game of the year. NC State was the biggest game of the year. It's just the next game is the biggest game of the year. And so, yes, I think that it's disappointing that DJ did not have the outing that he did, but there's a lot of intangibles that this young man brings to the table that are not just throwing the football downfield. And Texas A&M took the vertical pass away, and you saw it. They took the vertical passing game away. They had to stick to the run. They had to stick to the box. They had to stick to some short yardage stuff. But ultimately, at the end of the day, a win's a win's a win.
Mm-hmm.
You move on, survive, advance. I mean, all this is right now in the landscape that we have in college football, it may as well be March Madness. Survive and advance. That's what you got to do.
Yep.
Golf game, his age. Will, you want to take a shot at his hair too before we move on?
My hair looks damn good.
Wait a minute. That's low-hanging fruit right there. I mean, good gracious, that's low-hanging fruit to make fun of Phil's hair. Good gracious.
Well, I've been saying throughout this season, I think Phil Maffa is underutilized, and I think we saw his ability this past weekend against Syracuse. Is he a guy that should be getting about 8 carries a game?
I think more. I think he's got – let me tell you what I think about Maffa. His vision is fantastic, guys. His peripheral vision running the football, his ability to find cutback lanes. Obviously, Shipley is the go-to guy. He's your workhorse. He's the guy you want his cleats to be smooth at the end of the ball game. But Maffa is a guy, I'm telling you guys, he's got some tree trunks for some legs. He runs the ball hard, but if you'll watch what he does, he's constantly looking for that cutback lane. And in today's time where linebackers can overrun because they're so fast in the second level, Maffa can really, really hurt you with those cutbacks and with his vision. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I hope that Maffa, I hope that Phil's going to get a lot more carries down the stretch. I really do.
Will and the thrill, chatting with Will Merritt, Clemson side of the coin, Carl Hill on the Gamecock side of the coin. And Carl, wanted to get your take on what USC has been doing throughout this season on the special teams. We were asking Corey Miller about this last night. And when you were a player, what makes a really good special teams unit in your mind? And certainly into the, I don't think anybody can argue it's not an elite status with what the Gamecocks are doing this year.
I'm going to tell you, it's real simple. I've gone to their practices and I've seen the way they run special teams. There's so much emphasis placed on special teams. There's a lot of focus, energetic. And if you don't do it right, you get grabbed by the face mask and told that you did it wrong, and then explain to you how you need to do it, and then give you the opportunity to do it all over again correctly. They put so much emphasis on special teams. I'm not surprised at all that we're very good at special teams. It comes from the top. Everybody practice special teams, but we do our special teams similar to the way the guys up the hill kind of practice, that perfect practice. Our special teams, if it's not perfect, you redo it. I don't care if it takes more time. This is what we need to do, and we're not going to stop doing it until you all do it right at the same time. And that's how they practice, and that's how they play, and that's why we've been able to take advantage of some of those special teams opportunities.
Carl,
you guys got to think too. I mean, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. I mean, there's a reason why they called it Beamer ball with Frank Beamer all those years. You got to think some of that's rubbing off on Shane. I mean, you got to think that's got to be a point of pride for the next generation of Beamer ball.
No question. I was going to ask Carl a personal question here. Now, Carl, you being a USC grad and actually somebody who has given blood, sweat, tears, skin, bone, brain, everything else to the university. So you have probably more of a feeling on this than most. So they announced this week the end of the of and their identification and going back to being known as USC. Just want to get your thoughts on that and what the new president, along, I guess, with some board people, decided to do. Did it matter to you? If so, how did you feel about it?
There's a lot of football to be talking about, and I'm gonna be real brief about this comment. It's kind of easy for intelligent people to see a dumb idea and get rid of it, and that's kind of what they did. Next question.
That's good. Well, with that being the case, let's all right, let me do this with Will real quick. Will, as I look ahead to this weekend, Clemson's idle. So you've got Georgia playing Florida. You've got Ohio State at Penn State. All these teams are ranked ahead of Clemson. Tennessee playing Kentucky, all playing, quality big names. Michigan playing Michigan State. But Alabama, number 6 in the AP poll is idle. But TCU plays at West Virginia. My point in this is Oregon plays at California. Do you think if TCU's impressive in beating West Virginia, could TCU jump an idle Alabama and idle Clemson and jump into number 5? Now, the first real poll that matters comes out on Tuesday, but the AP poll is kind of a gauge maybe of what the committee's thinking about. Are you concerned that a TCU and Oregon getting big wins this weekend might jump you?
Yeah, I would. I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you there is calls for pause when you look at how it's lining up. The only thing that I think is a saving grace is obviously the teams that are ahead of Clemson they will have to weed themselves out with a loss somewhere somehow, just because. From a synergistic standpoint, they're all going to have to be in that mix. I mean, there's going to be losses ahead of Clemson before they play again. Now, one thing I will tell you though is that TCU and Clemson are very similar in strength of schedule. Now, people say they don't go with style points, but I think you and I both know that's not the case. I think you and I both know that style points do matter. Clemson does not necessarily have the style points of pulling away from teams this year, where TCU does have a little bit of that. I don't think TCU can run the table the rest of the year looking at their schedule. However, I do think Clemson has an opportunity to run the schedule. I think it will work itself out, but if you want to just pin me down yes or no, whether do I have any trepidation at all about TCU jumping Clemson in the polls, the answer is absolutely yes.
Okay, guys, got to go quick here. Got about 20 seconds. Time for the rivalry meter reading tonight. Carl, where is the rivalry meter in your mind?
It's a 6 because right now I'm looking at our season. We'll probably be favored in the next 3 games. We got the number 1 team probably come in at Tennessee, and we got Clemson. If I was playing spades, I'd say I got 3 strong and a possible. So, hey, I'm at a big 6 right now, baby.
Climbing. Will, what's your rivalry meter reading?
Until somebody proves me wrong, it's going to stay at a 10. I mean, it's at home. We're the better team. I know that you got a good win against Texas A&M, but, so did App State. So, until you prove me wrong, it's going to stay at a number 10.
Oh, synergistic. That's a good word,
yeah,
Will.
I'm
synergistic.
Impressive.
Yeah, man.
I wake up and read my thesaurus every morning before my quiet time.
I'm impressed.
You guys have a great rest of the week. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, fellas.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
Thank
See
you. Will and the Thrill. Synergistic. I have no idea what that means. What does it mean?
I had to look it up. It's relating to the interaction or cooperation of 2 or more organizations, substances, or other agents that produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate effects.
And I think it actually fit in what he was saying.
No doubt.
Yeah.
He used it correctly.
I mean, I use big words all the time, but they don't usually go along with what I'm trying to say. We'll hit this break. Be right back to wrap it up.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with the family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at scattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff program.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
Hi, I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and I've got a great gift idea that requires zero shopping, the gift of college savings. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan makes it easy. Grandparents, friends, and family can all contribute to a Future Scholar account and know that they're providing a gift that will last a lifetime. If you're looking for the perfect gift this holiday season, look no further. Learn more about the smart, easy way to save and give this holiday season at futurescholar.com.
All right, approaching the final minutes of the program here on this Thursday night. Appreciate Will and the Thrill. Another great job by those guys. Pass along a few things here. Our update on our poll question of the week. You got one more day to participate, and we're over 500 responses to the question. And the question is, of course, Clemson 8-0, 4 games to go. Which team is most likely, or which team will be in the greatest danger the Tigers run to 12-0? 505 votes, 52.1% say South Carolina, 45.3% say Notre Dame next week, and then Louisville got 1.4 and Miami's got 1.2. Miami picked up a big commitment today from a top cornerback that the experts always love it when those crystal balls go crack. The experts all had going to Florida, and he picked Miami. So it just shows that you never know.
Money talks, my friend. Money talks.
I'm sure.
By the way, we've got some
sure
college basketball in the
had
state
to go
tonight.
along with that as far as the whatchamacallit, the NILs. Yes, sir. What you got?
Florida State and Newberry College playing an exhibition tonight, believe it or not.
Yeah,
At the half,
I would think Florida State's probably going to win.
They're up by 12 at the half, 38-26.
That's not too bad.
No.
Not too bad for the Wolves.
Especially considering that Florida State's shooting 53% from three-point range.
Let me mention this. State newspaper wrote this. Ridgeview's football program has a hearing in front of the high school leagues committee tomorrow. Something that they don't know what the issue is, but something's up. They're going in front of the league's executive committee to appeal sanctions levied against the Blazers.
Wow.
And this could affect, if they have to forfeit games, it obviously could. They're playing for their region championship against AC Florida tomorrow. Obviously, whatever comes out of this, if there's some forfeits involved, it could affect that, could affect playoff seeding. So something to keep an eye on coming up tomorrow here on the program. We'll let you know what comes of that. And that'll do it. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody, for being with us tonight. Chris, you have a great trip up to Marshall.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Maybe we'll talk to you tomorrow night a little bit. And we'll see you tomorrow night on Sports Talk.
Someone will be right with you.
The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.